Hello everybody with Ascendant Sidereal Aquarius. This video will be about what is happening on the sky in the 2020 for the people who have Ascendant Aquarius sidereal coordinates. This would say that if you're following modern Western astrology, and if you know that your rising sun, your ascendant is Pisces, then this video is for you. So this would be sidereal or astronomical Aquarius, which is also the system used by the Indian Vedic astrology, or it will be Western modern Pisces. So in this video, I will be talking about the most important celestial events that will be influencing you. Only the most important, because we cannot look at everything, but there are some very significant events taking place, like Saturn entering his own sign, sidereal Capricorn, Jupiter, and we will be also looking at the heliacal phases of the planets. What is this? Now, in the ancient world, the most important phases of the planets were the disappearances and the appearances of the planets, considered symbolical deaths and births of planets, which always would result in events. So we will look at these specific phases of the planets, and of course aspects, and of course retrograde and stationary, but just the most important events. Now, of course, everyone's horoscope is unique. So if you want to have detailed analysis based on your personal natal chart, personal horoscope, then you may contact me for personal consultation, and my links are under this video. So what is happening in the year 2020? The most significant events for Ascendant Aquarius. Now, first of all, of course, we're having Saturn, who is ruling your ascendant along with Uranus, but Saturn is moving in the sign of Capricorn, his own sign, the sign that he's ruling, and this is your 12th house. Now, Capricorn is sign which Saturn is entering only once per approximately 30 years, and you can imagine he's the biggest lord on he's the most significant Lord of the karma. He is the one who brings justice. He is the one who is ruling discipline. He is the one who is ruling the time. He is the one who makes sure that we follow the right moral values, that we don't deviate from the truth. He is the one who makes sure that the karma lessons that we come to learn are being fulfilled in this lifetime. So what is happening? He's been traveling over the zodiac for approximately roughly 28-9 years. And now finally, the Lord is going back home, the biggest judge, the one that is about justice, the one that is about the karmic lessons and discipline. And he's coming back home. Imagine, after such a big trip, the Lord is coming back home, which is to say that in whichever place Capricorn on your chart is, of course, and in your case, this is 12th house, he will bring justice in this particular house. With you, this is very important because Saturn is ruling your ascendant. But what is happening when, in January 30th, Saturn is entering your 12th house to stay there for 2.5 years, and after that will come the most interesting part. After this 2.5 years, he's coming on your ascendant. But let's talk about your 2020. So your ascendant ruler will be on your 12th house. The 12th house is about what? The 12th house is about isolation, self-isolation. It is about your sleep. It is about taking care of others. It is about holy places. It is about temples. It is about hospitals. It is about poor. It is about sick. It is about diseases, chronic diseases and hidden diseases. And it is also about hidden enemies that you don't recognize as enemies. So this is what the 12th house is. How exactly the 12th house, Saturn, will manifest for you, what kinds of events Saturn will bring into your life, depends very much on your personal chart, and how Saturn in particular is placed. Depends whether you're born in the day, whether you're born in the night. All this matters very much, because then he would work differently. Depends on your personality, depends, which is also encoded in the horoscope, depends on your moral values, depends how disciplined you are, because according to our attitude, which is how we follow Saturn measures of discipline and attitude, on this will depend how he will work on us, in which event, what kinds of events he will manifest for us. So in the 12th house, Saturn, there are many options, of course. In the 12th house, Saturn can make you very desiring to go into solitude, self-isolation, and follow certain secret sciences, secret studies. Can make you desire to contemplate, to meditate, to go deeper into the occultism, esoterics, and spirituality. Other than that, he can help you heal long existing chronic diseases, but once again, depends on your natal Saturn. Apart from that, he can help you win over hidden enemies, or at least seeing who they are. Such information can be revealed to you once Saturn enters your 12th house. He can also make you interested very much in work of social work, helping others, helping poor, helping sick, helping people in need, and this will be something that will be pleasing you enormously. Such things can be result of your own choice, based on the fact that your ascendant ruler is entering your 12th house. He can also be so that this particular entrance of Saturn on your 12th house is certainly life-changing. You will see how your interest may change during these 2.5 years while he will be staying on your 12th house. You can suddenly see that your interest shift towards other type of spirituality or other types of knowledge. Your belief system can also change. You will certainly experience change whenever Saturn is making such an important return, which he makes only once in 28, 30 years, then the world is changing. So do we on personal level. But I'm telling you that especially when he is ruling your first house, your ascendant, then he always will bring change also to you. Very interestingly is that your other ruler, Uranus, right now, for 7 years since, I think it was April 2017, is on your 3rd house, from where he is creating harmonious aspect to your ascendant and also harmonious aspect to your descendant. So also Uranus is very much helping you to develop your spirituality slowly over this period of 7 years, along with Saturn. He will put you on another vibrational level. He will be changing your desire to know. He will shift your interests and so on. So is doing now Saturn. He can totally change your interest in, he can change your sense of mission. You may desire to do different things than what you've been doing for such a long time. You may find yourself desiring to do more spiritual work than you would do before. You should know that he's entering your 12th house indeed in January 30th. But while he's doing this, he will be until 1st of March invisible. I told you I will be talking about the phases of the planets, and one of them is the invisibility of the planets. Being invisible, he works on a different level, very delicate, very intrinsic, not necessarily visible, because literally he is invisible. And being invisible, you may not immediately sense and experience the changes that he may bring. He's subtle. The changes may go on a very deep intrinsic level up until he shows up on the sky, which is happening on the 1st of March 2020. Watch these events, how they will manifest for you. The time 7 days before March 1st of March, and 7 days after, 7 March. So then he's very active. He's in a heliacal phase of symbolical birth. So this is what is happening. In the very same time, Jupiter, already since November, the beginning of November 2019, is on your 11th house. This is really beautiful. Jupiter is in his own place on your 11th house. And this is beautiful because he's creating harmonious aspect to your ascendant. He's like a guardian to you. He's helping for you to have good incomes. He's helping for children. He'll helping to improve relationship with children. He will be helping you in any good sense. He's helping you with your friendships. He will be helping in many positive ways. He will help you some plans and missions and desires to come true. But once again, here again, the heliacal phase comes into importance. Jupiter is invisible, and he becomes visible on the 30th of January. When he becomes visible, we feel his energies much more powerfully, like then he's really existing, because again, he is there when invisible. The planets are not going anywhere. They are there just from our perspective. They're not visible, and this makes them very operate on a different, very delicate level, to a degree that we may not feel their protection or their influences. Their natures change. But 30th of January, he is appearing heliacally on your 11th house. And this is wonderful. You may see how this will be, how finally you may, without any reason, feel protected, or you may feel desire to meditate, or you may feel a desire to connect with your higher self, with the spiritual. It's something beautiful, because he will be protecting you from your 11th house. And also, this is a wonderful date which I will be using for the creation of powerful Jupiter astrological talismans, because only one time in 12 years he's in his own sign. But not only that, in his own sign and becoming heliacally visible, it's like his birth. He's very, very powerful, very, very potent, and such talismans are very benefic and really do miracles. You can see link to my talismans also under this video. So you'll be having these nice aspects, because also Jupiter will be creating harmonious aspect to Uranus, who is also ruling your ascendant. In many ways, this will be a divine support. This will be support in relation to gains and finances. So it's something very, very positive. Let's see the other significant events. And also in January, you have it up until 4th of February, Venus is on your ascendant to bring blessing and very good feeling of joy, to help with your private life. But then on 4th of February, Venus is moving away to enter your second house, where is her exaltation point. The most of her powers will be felt when she's exalted on your second house in Pisces, which will be helpful for your finances, which will be helpful for mainly for this for your work environment. Where from 4th of February until 1st of March, you'll be over your second house, and after that she's moving from 1st of March to 28th of March on your third house to join your second ascendant ruler Uranus. This will be very nice, because you will have this sense of joy. She will support your love life, luck in general. And then on 29th of March is entering Taurus, which is your fourth house, from where she will be. There we will be having very interesting events that I will mention, but from your fourth house, she will support your work, your home, your career, relationship with parents for good. But here the most interesting event is the retrograde, stationary retrograde planets on the sky, and I will explain you how I see that they will influence us. Okay. Before doing this, let's see one important event, which is that in middle of April, Jupiter is entering the sign of Capricorn for a while. But the most interesting events which will happen are in the middle of May. At that time, we will be having 3 stationary retrograde planets which will influence the whole world. So what is happening? In middle of May, we will be having Saturn becoming stationary retrograde, and this is your ascendant ruler. Jupiter becoming stationary retrograde, and at the very same time, Venus. And on the 30th of May, Venus is retrograde and invisible up until 16th of June, when she's becoming visible on your her first appearance on your 4th house. And what is this? When she becomes visible on your 4th house, this is blessing. Her first visibility is about blessing for your home, blessing for your work, and in general, it is a very positive event. But during the period of invisibility, not so much the retrograde Venus, but the invisible Venus, we do not have her divine support. We're lacking it. It's like with the other planets that I explained you. So during the period of 30th of May until 16th of June, we do not have so much of divine support coming from Venus. But then when she rises heliacally, she will be back there for us. But during the period of Saturn becoming invisible mid-May until 10th of October, things may slow down a bit. And this is your ascendant ruler. This is very important. This can put you in a state of a little bit pessimistic, melancholic feelings and emotions. Things in general may be a little bit slowed down. This is possibility that you experience. This will be up until 10th of October. Jupiter becomes stationary retrograde up until 17th of September. And because he's on your 11th house, very possibly he may delay things related to finances, or matters which you expect to come true, or matters respected to your hopes, desires, and relationship with your social circle, with the people which are in your social circle, social activities. All this may get a little bit delayed up until 17th of September, when Jupiter becomes direct. So this is something very important to tell you. And then we're having some other very important dates. On the 28th of July, Mercury is becoming visible on your 5th house. Why this is so important? Because your 5th house is the house of good. This is the 5th house is the house of the good fortune, and the house of the good fortune for you is ruled by Gemini. So for your chart in particular, a heliacal rise of Mercury on your 5th house is something lucky. Like Mercury becomes visible for the first time in your 5th house, in his own house. Now this will result in some sort of event related to your plans, related to your hopes, could be associated with 5th house matters, like pleasure. It is related as well to gains. It will be related to creative studies, creativity in general. And this particular first visibility is on 28th of July. This is very significant. I will explain you why. Because this is one of those events that we're waiting to happen, like the Jupiter to become visible in his own sign, Mercury to become visible in his own sign, because most of the time you see that you don't detect Mercury on the sky. He's invisible. He's so near the sun that he's invisible. But at that particular moment, not only that he becomes visible, but in his own sign. Another important event for the creation of powerful astrological talismans, which I will be using. And then we have on the 28th of August, Pluto, Jupiter conjunction on your 11th house, making opposition to Venus. This is not a bad event, but can result in some events related to costs, related to activities in your social life, quite some. And then we're having here another important thing. It is that on 18th of November until 12th of December, Venus will be on your ninth house, which is ruling. So Venus is entering her own sign of rulership, Libra. And from 18th of November until 12th of December, she will be there. And she's powerful there. She will be training your ascendant to create opportunity for traveling, for studying, for spiritual awareness. And then on the 14th of November already, Mars is direct in the sign of Pisces, which is your second house. Mars is not very fine in Pisces, so be a little bit for a period of approximately 1 month from 14th of November, be a little bit cautious not to get very impulsive in the way you're making money. Just be very diplomatic. And then on 25th of November, Jupiter is leaving your 11th house and is entering the sign of Capricorn, where he will be joining Saturn. Now this is good because this way he is giving blessing to your ascendant ruler. And in this way, you may experience indirectly this feeling of blessing and joy, which you do experience when he is on the 11th house, but when he joins the ascendant ruler, this is supportive for your health. And some people call this conjunction between Jupiter and Saturn a royal conjunction, which may result in financial profits, but this would depend on your natal chart and how Saturn and Jupiter are placed. So these were the most important events. Apart from them, we are having very important, of course, they're always important, but we're having eclipses, 6 of them. And usually there is nothing to worry about, but the eclipses are not considered auspicious, never by any ancient culture. The eclipses are taking place on the axis of Gemini, Sagittarius, and Scorpio, Taurus this year. And now I'll explain you eclipse per eclipse briefly how they work this year and how they possibly can influence you. Now, the good thing is that there is no eclipse happening on the axis of Aquarius, Leo Aquarius, which would say that if you do not have moon and sun there, you will not directly experience the negative affliction of the eclipses. So on the 10th and 11th of January, we're having the first partial lunar eclipse happening on the axis of Gemini Sagittarius. It's partial lunar eclipse. Well, this is not influencing so much your personality, the axis of your ascendant descendant, but shortly can influence your social circle, relationship with children, to a degree, but it's not so devastating. And then we're having partial lunar eclipse again, 5th and 6th of June, happening on the axis of Scorpio Taurus. This is a little bit different eclipse, and it is happening on your axis of your career and home. And when this is happening, especially if your midheaven related to your own territory, longitudes and latitudes. So if this is happening on this axis, could be that this influences a bit your career, your work, your plans. So around this period, the whole summer, I would say, be a little bit, when you're making important initiatives, be very precise, be very organized, be very spiritual discipline, because this can, for a while, lock our luck in relation to where the eclipse is appearing, and this is the axis of your work. So there is where you may need to be very diplomatic and very spiritual. And then on the 21st of June, we're having the partial solar eclipse happening on the axis of your 5th house, which is not so harmful, but can influence a little bit your luck. And then on the 4th, 5th of July, partial lunar eclipse happening on the axis of Sagittarius, Gemini. The same axis is a little bit afflicted. Could be that this can create some challenges with friends. But again, you see, the eclipses are events which are allowed by the Creator to bring us some lessons, to open our eyes. So they are negative the way we perceive them, but they are not negative for the soul, for sure. And then on the 29th, 30th of November, again, eclipse is happening on the axis of Taurus, Scorpio, your work and home axis. And the total solar eclipse is happening in Scorpio on 14th of December 2020 on your 10th house. If your midheaven is there, this may influence a little bit your work. If eclipse is not happening on axis, it's not so important. But you have to check if your midheaven is passing through the axis of Scorpio, Taurus. If it's passing through axis of 9, 3rd house, Libra, Aries, it's not such a big deal. But these are events which are taking place every year. We are very much immune to them, but still, of course, they influence us, especially if they happen on key position in the horoscope. Now, don't watch the eclipses. They are very, very positive, because what we think, and that this is also what we invoke from the spirit world. Actually, the year is very good for you, because your ascendant ruler is moving into his own place. Also, Jupiter is supporting you by a very harmonious aspect. So the year can be very good for you, but also a year of changes, personal changes, changes of your level of belief system and spirituality. The whole world will change. Look at what happened 30 years ago. So we all will experience some kind of changes. So thank you for your attention. Have a very good, very spiritual, very harmonious 2020.